Chapter 37.
Yeah, sure,
Pete said.
they're robots. Miniature work robots. They build things.
So I've gathered, Mr. Blue replied. As well as dismantling. Dawn touched the wall nearby. A faux panel slid away to reveal a projector.
It'll probably just be easier to watch the film he made for his school project,
the young lady explained.
Pete had to do a lot of research on the rapids.
Sully nodded as he looked over at the Time Lord.
Sure, we have time for a movie. What the hell? Not as if the building wasn't collapsing around us or anything.
Oi, this could be important. Sorry, Dawn. Go ahead. The girl queued up her little brother's science report about tiny construction machines as the projector came to life, emitting a large picture.
Rapids!
A rather overly excited announcer exclaimed in the film.
Our nanotechnological tools in the sky.
As this was being announced, the picture showed an experiment in a lab on top of a plain metal table. There was a brief, furious gust of wind, and suddenly on the table appeared a fully articulated dollhouse, complete with miniature furniture. Sully shook his head.
Still doesn't explain.
Would you just... Mr. Blue snapped.
What are rapids really? Where do they come from?
The announcer continued. The Time Lord pointed to the projection, shrugging at Sully. For his part, Sully shrugged back.
Rapid,
the projection explained,
stands for Reprogrammable Architectural Projection Infrastructure Device. Rapid. Isn't that clever? And the little guys are fast, too. So, it has just 2 meanings.
Oh, 2 meanings.
Sully clapped his hands sarcastically. What is with you today? Mr. Blue shook his head. Sully lit a cigarette in response. The projection continued.
And, with the help of the rapids, we are on our way to the greatest achievement, the Midpoint Luxury Resort, this first 6-star rated hotel above Earth's surface.
After the announcer continued on about the hotel, seeming to forget the purpose of the documentary, the rapids. The Time Lord looked at the little boy Pete. It appears as if you simply found an old footage of the hotel proposal and repurposed it for a science project. Pete was wiggly and squirmy again.
Why do I have to write it in my own words? Why can't that narrator just tell her what the robots are?
Because that is cheating. Dawn folded her arms.
What did you get on the project?
Sully asked the little boy.
B-.
Nothing wrong with cheating then.
Sully grinned.
Ah, you're hopeless.
Mr. Blue looked at the Midpoint construction documentary, which had been plagiarized by a 9-year-old boy for a school science project. He addressed it. But really, good job, Pete. Computer, index search, rapid creator, or creators. The film sped forward to yet another lab, where a man sat in front of a camera explaining asteroid named XCT-8387. Inside of the asteroid was a form of microtechnology, extremely advanced. However, my colleagues and I could not find a power source that would activate the dormant robotics. We have no concept of what they ran on prior to this, so we reverse engineered the devices and fitted them for power units using standard electricity. Now, with a push of a button, we can... The Time Lord paused the explanation. He stood, tapping his forefinger against his pursed lips.
Something grab your attention, old man?
Sully asked. Mr. Blue stared ahead, not responding.
Come on now, Mr. Lord of Time, sir. Tell us what you're on about.
Sully's dry sarcasm was lost on Mr. Lord of Time. The asteroid? XCT-8387? It isn't a man-made satellite at all. Mr. Blue explained, still staring ahead. The company that used the rapids to build the Midpoint Hotel also used the same asteroid to tether the umbilicus and the midpoint to Earth's surface. Sully nodded.
Makes perfect sense. Not to annoy you further, but how does that help us out?
The Time Lord finally turned to answer him, with a light smile on his face. I think the asteroid was their ship, their camouflaged vessel. Dawn was tired of watching the adults talk and
not having her say. Whose ship? The rabbits. They're just robots.
That's where you're wrong.
Mr. Blue knelt to speak to the kids.
I think they're aliens. Nanotechnological alien explorers who are in suspended animation. Ah,
Sully placed his hands on his hips.
and you think they're vexed?
The Time Lord in the cobalt suit stood, adjusting his azure tie.
I think the construction company found a spaceship full of cryo-sleeping miniature robot aliens and forced them into slavery, electrode shocking them all into submission.
The retired Commodore lit a cigarette, hesitantly asking,
No, they freed themselves. They're going to take everything apart, eh? At the very least, we can see if they've regained their freedom.
Mr. Blue observed.
And they are clearly not going to be doing the midpoint or us any favors.